Don't eat. When you get 2 marshmallows, don't eat them either.
Are we gonna end the video?
No, we're not ending the video. If you get the 2 marshmallows and you eat them both, that's just like the worst. Like, marshmallows like just pure sugar.
Hello YouTube, my name is Philip Sirius, this is my brother Andrew Sirius, and today we're going to talk about kind of the present versus the future in a sense.
Yes, and really the most important thing that there is. And so this is the most important presentation you've ever heard. Or a presentation on the most important topic. Or
One of the most important topics at least.
And the ability to defer gratification. Now what we're talking about is not so much the future in terms of like, there's ways like, oh, I will do something when X happens, or I will be happy when, Y happens. I think that's the same as regret. Like, it's just the other version of regret, looking at the past. So if only I'd done this, looking at the future.
It's being unsatisfied because you just need the next thing to be happy.
We're talking about the ability to do the hard thing now or not do the easy thing now that leads to greater results. And quite frankly, it is very common, for people want to do the easy thing. So if you can be able to defer your gratification, you have a massive competitive advantage. You basically won already.
I mean, this is almost definitionally true, not just in investing, which we'll get into, but just in life. If something is easy to do and good for you, you're going to do it, and everybody's going to do it. Breathing, it's easy to do, and everybody's going to do it.
No competitive... Well, there is a competitive advantage of being able to breathe, but not against very many people.
The other thing is, if something is really hard to do and bad for you to do in the future, nobody's going to do it. There's a lot of things that are really bad for you now and hard and bad for you. Nobody's going to do it. So the one category...
Like, no one like injects arsenic into like Brussels... Like there... What's a disgusting food? like anchovy pizza or something like that. They don't inject arsenic into that and just force feed themselves. That doesn't happen.
So just definitionally, those two things don't really, everybody does them the same. The one where you can really differentiate yourself from everybody else is something that is either easy to do now, but bad for you in the future, which is what most people, I will say, most people end up doing. The thing where you can differentiate yourself and say, you know what, it's the hard thing to do now, but there's a benefit in the future. And that most people, in most situations, have a hard time doing that. The more times you can do that, the more benefits you're going to rack up.
This is what that famous marshmallow experiment was all about, where they gave the kids one marshmallow, and if they could hold off for 15 minutes, they gave them a second marshmallow. Now, I think 3/4 of the kids failed during the original experiment, but 1/4 succeeded, trying to distract themselves, all these different things. They looked at those kids later in life, and the kids who held off did substantially better. Now, they redone the test, and it's been a little bit less vibrant results, but they're still there. Like,
the principle makes a lot of
if you're able to hold off on the easy thing, and let's just go through it. If you exercise, some people, enjoying exercise is good, but some people hate it. If you exercise, better than not. If you eat bonbons and Twinkies instead of like vegetables and fruits and healthy food, it doesn't work out so well.
If you eat the easy thing, it's just the things that are bad for you in the long run that are easy now, people tend to do, and the bad they rack up.
And the most simple thing is the difference between lending money and borrowing it.
Yes.
There's a reason that the lender gets interest, and the higher risk, the higher the interest, but also the more the person wants the money now, the higher the interest, the more motivated they are. If somebody is desperate for money, they are willing to pay higher interest rate. That's true of companies that are in dire straits or desperate for funding. They're willing to pay higher interest rates or give away larger portions of their company. It's sort of the basic thing of being, if you're a real estate investor, you're looking to buy, you look for value add opportunities or motivated sellers. Being the motivated party here, the one that wants the thing now and not the one who's willing to wait or capable of waiting, and putting yourself in a position that's capable of waiting,
that's the other thing. It snowballs on itself. People who work out generally like working out more, and it's easier to do it. So it's not as hard anymore. You get more benefits. The company that has stable finances and hasn't been borrowing a lot of money can get money at a lower interest rate, and thus these benefits snowball on each other over time.
Just to put this in perspective, I went to one of those 401k calculators and just put like $50,000 income, you get 3% raise a year on average, and you put 4% away, and you're getting 5%, return. So kind of basic. You do it for 40 years, standard job. It turns into $400,000. And he's like, that's not a fortune, and maybe you don't get a 3% raise, and there's inflation and blah blah blah. But Flip it around. Let's say you have it on credit cards. You're putting 4% of your income on credit. You're spending 4% more than you make. You're putting on credit cards. You're paying 15, 18, 19, 20% interest, and that's compound interest. It compounds on itself. The eighth marvel of the world, according to Albert Einstein. Every year, you have to run faster just to keep up where you were now because you wanted it now instead of being able to defer it to the future.
And this is one of the things, some super simple advice just works so well. Like Dave Ramsey, who, if you don't know who he is, he's all about get out of debt, don't take on debt.
The borrower's slave to the lender. You tell me, are you a slave or not?
That's basically his whole thing. Not completely, but pretty much.
There are some criticisms there. I mean, if you're trying to become an engineer and you take out student loans, I mean, okay.
He would say no. But regardless,
if you're buying your own house or investing,
that's the one time. But there's some exceptions around the edges. But basically, that's his whole thing, and that's a super simple thing. But the reason it works so well is it basically forces you into this thing of don't do something. This is only half the equation, but it's don't do something that's easy now that's bad for the future.
I mean, if you follow Dave Ramsey's advice, you will be, and stay employed, you will be successful. You won't be super successful. I think you see that as a baseline and then you add a few things, particularly using debt strategically, but that's a different video. But the key point here is if you do that, you'll be successful. If you're able to just defer consumer debt. We're not talking about like buying a house, and buying an apartment or something like that. Of course, you can do that badly, but consumer debt is like junk food. It's like McDonald's. It's like it is.
I mean, usually people use credit cards to buy books.
Yeah. So I mean, if you use a credit card to buy McDonald's, I mean, you're doubling up. Your arteries and your bank account are looking fairly similar right now. So it's like, but that's how you should see it. Consumer debt is the junk food. It is the bonbons and Twinkies and McDonald's of money, of personal finance.
It's easy now and bad long term. The hard thing to do now is to cut your expenses and to move forward.
And there's another point that I really came home with Scott Trench's book, Set for Life, and that is saving money makes you more than making money because the money you earn is taxed. Mm-hmm. So you get taxed, 10 to 30%. But the money you save, you keep 100% of that. So if you're spending that money on whatever, it's gone, and maybe that's good. You gotta spend some money. If you're borrowing money, I mean, you don't get a tax deduction for taking out credit card debt, and so you need to earn even more. Yeah. And you got to pay the interest, and you got to earn money that's still getting taxed, and you're not getting a benefit because you pissed all your money away. So it's like this is the key thing. You are going to be running. It's either the Red Queen. You are going to be running faster to stand still or very likely moving backwards and dealing with things like eviction, bankruptcy, foreclosure, things you do not want to play around with.
But there is one thing that is easy to do now and beneficial long term.
It's easy to do now that will benefit you in the long term.
Yeah. It's both of those things.
Are you guys ready for this? It's suspense.
You got to take your mouse or your finger and go to the little red button that says subscribe and click it with either your finger or the mouse pointer.
Changing. Dave Ramsey doesn't know, he would recommend it. And so would his critics.
It doesn't put you in debt.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it doesn't put you in debt. Dave Ramsey wouldn't have a problem with it.
0 calories.
Just do it, okay?
And when you do that, we'll see you for the next one, guys.
And pay off your credit cards and don't take out consumer debt. And don't eat junk food.
Just don't eat the marshmallow.
When you get 2 marshmallows, don't eat them either.
Are we gonna end the video?
No, we're not ending the video. If you get the 2 marshmallows and you eat them both, that's just like the worst. Like, marshmallows are just pure sugar.
They're kids.
Just eat an apple and make the Honeycrisp. Red Delicious or garbage.
All right, we're gonna agree on that.
We can end the video now if you want to.
Okay.